We're live. Great. So good afternoon and welcome to the City of Glens Falls Water and Sewer Commission meeting. It's Monday, June 5th, 2:07 p.m. Well, first thing we do is open it up for public participation. I don't see anybody here from the public. If Peter, if somebody comes online, you let me know and we'll come back to number one. Number two is the stormwater moment with Bill, and we're going to call it Stormwater with Bill. How's that?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
As with each package, you can see that we include a stormwater moment in each month. And, a lot of it's repetitious just to prove the points of different phases of how all of this gets to into our waterways. And you can see, it goes from everything we've discussed before, from the pets to the cars that leak fuel and grease and oil that get onto the pavement, and cigarette butts and trash that's picked up by the heavy rains and flushed down into our waterways. And then you can see how, lawn fertilizer and pesticides, they're not completely absorbed by the soils and the organic material.
A good example of that was in Florida, the red tide this year.
Oh yeah? They
They
tied it to fertilizer?
Oh, yeah.
They said a lot of the golf courses and everything, all the fertilization got
All
washed
farm.
into the ocean, and the red tide just blew up.
Wow.
So,
They said it was the largest they'd ever seen.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know
See it from space.
that they knew that it had anything to do with fertilizer.
That's what they're
That's what they're blaming it
blaming it
on.
on anyway.
Wow. Well, fantastic. Not fantastic, but
Well.
anyway,
Well,
Interesting.
but that's
Thank you, Bill.
whenever we discard anything, or on the
I-
roads and areas, it's
I
finds
get the
its way
feeling
to
the general public doesn't know there's a difference between stormwater and sewer water, right? They see that drain, and they think that's where the sewer goes, as opposed to that's where stormwater goes. And in the perfect world, they're kept separate.
I brought it to a lot of people over the years locally when I'm like, hey, did you know? And they're like, no, they're all combined here. They all go to,
Yeah.
they just
No.
assume that it's all coming here.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
And we're
"No,
doing
it
everything
really
we can to
doesn't."
separate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spending millions of dollars to separate it.
Any questions for Bill in his stormwater moment? It's kind of like fireside chat, I think. All right. If not, number three is the billing issues. We have one from 8 Towpath Lane. Bill?
I think everybody's seen it in their packet. Mrs. Getchart, I believe that's how you would pronounce it, Getchart.
Yeah.
Gacher?
Explained, she did a nice explanation of what had occurred, and that they went away for a few days in February. When they returned, they found some running water, heard some running water, and they looked outside and the spigot was running. She has already paid the bill in full, but as she says, she doesn't believe she should have to pay for the sewage charge because obviously the water didn't come here.
As in the past, we've
Yeah.
done that many times when there's a leak and it doesn't affect our sewer usage, so I have no problem.
So she paid for the water portion of the bill, and she's asking to be waiving the sewage
She
portion.
paid the bill in full. She paid the whole
So
bill.
we'll just
Okay.
credit.
She just
what we
did a
decide.
credit
No
or
credit
reimbursement.
account?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So I'd like to make a motion, we waive the sewer charge above what her normal rate would be
yeah, and I think,
at an average.
yeah, if you've seen the memo, she spells it out, that,
Right.
Mary Beth spells it out for us very well, that there was a difference of $1,139.79.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Yes.
So the motion passes. Thank you. I also think it's worth noting that she paid the bill first and then.
Well,
and
if they
then-
call, usually that's what you tell them, right? That you need to pay it anyway, and then look.
Then you can appeal.
you can do
Tell
it.
them, come talk to you guys.
No, but if they do that,
I'm
No,
not
but
even
it's
sure-
great.
I'm
I
not
mean,
even
you
sure-
know, you don't have an attitude with it. You have this happened, we made a mistake,
Okay, well-
paying the water portion, but rather not, I mean, it's reasonableness. It's nice. 4, a resolution to approve the minutes from, number 4A is a resolution to approve the minutes of May 1st, 2023, Water and Sewer Commission meeting. Would have been, yes, Water and Sewer Commission meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes, or, wait, any questions or changes? Not hearing any. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Right?
Thank you.
Yes.
Second is the water and sewer warrant. Did everybody get a copy of the warrant? Anybody have any questions about the warrant?
Motion to approve?
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Right?
Yep.
Thank you. Number C is an approval of Gold Engineering contract extension. What's the extension about, Bill? Was it just an addition of?
It's a work that John Goldie's gonna do for us going forward. Prior to this, he helped us with the scope of work and during the interview process of the engineers, and once that was satisfied, we asked him to create a preliminary engineering report so we could apply for funding. Part of that would be under this, he's already done some of this work already for us.
Yep.
And so part of that fee would come out of this, along with also reviewing some of the engineering work that Wright Pierce is doing for us.
So it's the preliminary engineering work.
Yes. Jeremy, anything else? Did I miss anything? Okay.
Anybody have any questions?
And he's done a really good job.
He's a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion to approve the engineering contract extension?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And the last of resolutions is D, is an approval for the Arcadis contract. Bill?
And part of that work that Arcadis is doing was, we put out a contract for an engineering firm to come in and help us with all of our contracts going forward, all of our preliminary work that has to go into moving all of our projects forward. We had 6 firms apply. I think we interviewed, shortlisted 3, and Arcadis was the one that we chose. And once we chose them, the contract is part of your package. It's a time and material. We have their rate schedule, so they will be helping us with the water distribution system and all of the other work that we have going forward,
All right.
and getting that all ready for all of the funding agencies, whether it's EFC or YP or any of the other grant programs that New York State has.
And we do know that the electrical projects are on both Senator Gillibrand and Schumer's appropriation funds for $5 million. Not that we, well, it'd be great if we got it, but at least they're on there, and hopefully they stay on there in some portion. In addition to the grants that we'll apply for, and we set $2 million aside of the ARPA money to cover this engineering work previous and whatever else needs to be applied that we don't get by grants or senators. Okay. Any questions about the Arcadis contract?
I'll move that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Number 5, discussion. Brush fire on Halfway Brook Trailhead.
Yeah, I believe it was a Wednesday afternoon. One of our operators here called asking for Rick Smith's phone number because he had seen that there was a large brush fire off of Peggy Ann Road, part of our watershed area. So I called Ricky. Ricky went up there, and he said by the time he got there, there was really it was put all out. So then when I left here, I got up there and actually pulled off the road. Most of the fire department was leaving, but there was a couple of people from Queensbury that I knew that I talked to, the assistant chief, and he said that it was just a brush fire. It wasn't on the trail, the Peggy and Powder Road Trail. It was about a few acres in, towards the water, towards Halfway Brook. It was about an acre, acre and a half, and then I walked in, and the forest rangers were in there, just assessing everything and making sure everything was done. And I think the burning question was probably the same one that's in your mind, is how did it start? They said there's no way they could tell how it started. They didn't find any debris. They didn't find anybody in there. So, you know,
It's a weekday?
it was a weekday. Yeah.
And did any of the fire go straight to the roadway, or?
Oh, no. It was a small area, probably a few hundred yards off of Potter Road, and a few hundred yards. If you walked into the Potter Road Trail, there was a gate. There's the first set of gates on the trail itself. It was probably 200 yards in from there.
Because the typical thing, kids lighting fires or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it's not summertime yet, this is a weekday,
Yeah.
so you wouldn't think that, right?
In the afternoon.
It's afternoon.
Could have been somebody walking through with a cigarette, plugged it.
That's but they'd have to be way off the trail. You know what I mean?
About an acre and a half.
That's what they, that was the
That's what your
report.
guess, yeah. How close did it get to the actual watershed itself?
Sure.
Huh?
Quite a distance, I'd say. 3/4 of a mile to a mile, probably.
How many fires, is this the first of this year?
This is the first one since I've been here.
It's been a few years. We lost several acres up near Butler. Well, no, I'm sorry, Wilkie, a while back.
Safe to say
5, 6 years ago, maybe?
I was just trying to remember.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
That was 7, 8 acres, 7 or 8 acres, something like that. It was really extensive.
Yeah. I had known Joe Dupree, so when he was, actually, when I was getting out of the truck, the sun was setting, so I couldn't see who was walking up to me, and I saw, well, Joe, I've known him for years. And significant to wind chips, so.
The forest ranger report said 2 acres.
Yeah, and I read that just down here, 2 acres, so.
That's probably
All right.
An estimation.
an estimation, of course.
They were both, yeah.
Any other questions for Bill? Then we don't need a resolution, so
No,
required
just-
repairs to the water tanks.
As part of the AT&T program to put the antenna up on tank 1, they called for a pre and a post inspection, and as with most of the time when you weld on a tank or something, whenever you're heating a surface on, the inside surface is painted, so it does some damage to the inside. So this report is the post report from Utility Services Company, which is the old Suez. They sold this company. Either they bought it or they sold it off. This is actually the company that owned it before Suez, and then they bought it back. So this was Roger Linger's company. He's still part of it, but he's left for another position, but he's still going to handle some of the Glens Falls work. So this whole report, I don't think, we didn't include it because it was so long, right, Sheila?
Right, just the beginning page.
Yeah, just a couple pages, because it's like, what do we say, 40 pages long or something?
Long.
So they listed all the damages and stuff. Now it's AT&T responsibility to go in and pay them to come in and take care of all this, which is not a bad thing to either. They'll drain the tank and we'll clean it, and they're supposed to do it every 5 years. We're coming up pretty close to when these tanks have to be taken down anyway. It's just creates a little havoc for us, and there's no urgency. It's not creating any bad effects in the water or putting us in any danger. So.
How come the practice of banding things and then affixing or hardwiring onto that band didn't or isn't a thing, rather than
Yeah.
rather than, push into the material itself.
I
And
mean, like banning the whole circumference of the tank?
Yeah, that would be massively expensive, and this is
Yeah,
cheaper still.
Two things, I think it would be massively expensive, and I don't think it's quite as rugged or hard and fast, so to speak, as welding it to the tank.
So every 5
Stuck to
years,
this,
what happens? You have to, every 5 years you do this anyway, so
We
this is.
take the tanks down for inspection. That was part of the original contract with Suez, and now part of utility services.
Gotcha.
So AT&T is paid for the repairs?
Well, they asked for the quote, and we haven't seen it, but, that's their obligation.
I thought contractually, yeah.
It's the same thing, whether they negotiate now and get the price down a little bit or not, but they need to make all of these repairs, whatever the cost.
I'm sure they're insured also, so.
Any other questions? Move on to constituent claim. Juliana Muscatello.
Yes. 37 Lexington, I believe it was. This came in late Friday afternoon, and Danjo and the crew got over there, and they actually made a repair so that they could get through the weekend. They went back on Monday, completed the repair. The repair was outside the homeowner's responsibility, so they had to go ahead and make a repair. And while they were there, they replaced a service line to a galvanized service line. So what she's saying is that she had to pay IBS to come out, not only snake and TV or drain, but it wasn't part of her responsibility because it was on city work. She's basically just asking for, which I was surprised because she said they had to stay in a hotel and blah, so she's basically saying that she was only asking for the
Yeah.
reimbursement for the
See, they pull some wipes out of it.
IBS.
Anybody have any questions?
Isn't yours the city's carrier?
That's a good question. Because I have not seen, I have not seen their determination yet, so
They take up to 90 days.
we can table it until we hear, or I have not seen their determination on it.
Well, probably be the prudent thing to do with it.
That's fine.
Make a motion to table this until we get a determination from the insurance company whether they're gonna pay it. That would have to come back as a resolution anyway, right?
Yeah, you bring it back and, we can bring it to next month and hopefully we've heard.
Well, actually, we'll just go through the books office and the insurance company. I think the idea was just to make you aware of the fact that this claim is up.
Gotcha. You're saying, she's saying that, that we determined there was no blockage and she contacted a plumber and then, but that's not necessarily accurate, but we did find ourselves, we needed to make a repair and we did.
Correct.
So we were causing a block. It's a reasonable request on their
Mhm.
part, is what you're saying.
Yeah, because what IBS is saying, they got to the point out into the lateral, to the point where it was past the curb, out into the street. So when they marked it, as I said, Ginger went out there late Friday, got her going, and then went back Monday morning, they opened the road, they opened the
Gotcha.
street, and as with every lateral in Glens Falls since I've been there, there's always seems to be tree roots in it, so.
Great.
So that's basically for information, we'll see where it leads to.
Okay.
Along the same lines, like, was over on, Peggy Ann Road the other day, and, Queensbury School had, they were out in the road doing
Picking it,
their cleanup.
that senior day, yeah. I
Yep,
saw that.
and, I see something in the paper subsequently to that, and then there was some piles out there, maybe they picked them up already. They dragged a mattress out of the woods and some other stuff that was laying there, so. If it's still there, I'll give you a call, you can get a hold of John to have
Yeah.
him pick it up, he
Yeah.
promised he would. So,
Yeah.
I don't know whether a note from us would be prudent, or,
You wanna write that and I'll sign it too? Just a thank you note to the Queensbury School District. And make sure we include the superintendent as well as,
yeah, that was his idea when
Yeah.
we were walking there, so.
It's a great start. It
Yep.
really is. It's a great start to that.
So I'm glad to see they followed up on
education
the,
piece. Yeah, followed up on what they said.
we'll see what.
Do you know, is that prior to, have we had that happen before? We haven't had Queensbury school kids going.
There's an individual, and I don't know whether it was community service or what, that used to go through there picking up stuff
On
on the
the
side of
road.
Yeah.
Right,
Mhm.
right. I mean, what a neat idea to have, well, first of all, to have the superintendents of both schools showing up and walking with us on a morning, I thought was a great show of support. I would have thought maybe that when we started walking through the woods that they'd have said, yeah, well, we'll see ya when you're done. And they didn't. They all made it through.
They made it all the way.
And you know, I mean, I gotta hand it to John, right? I mean, and to have those kids do that.
Yep.
And John did, just to remind you also, that John agreed that he felt that they could pass a law that is similar to the law or modeled after the law that they have for waterfront properties of getting inspections on their septic tanks, that for this watershed, for our watershed area, that Queensbury homeowners there do the same. He thought that was a fine request and agreed that they should work on it. And so we'll have to follow up, but we need to set some dates and give him some dates. I don't know if there's a date you're available or not to get our committee to start meeting again. Right?
Superintendent Gannon made some dates on it in an email for some other stuff, I don't know.
For the others,
I'm
for
not sure, yeah.
a follow-up of.
Yeah, but we should get that committee back
Yeah.
together, take a look at
Okay.
it.
Yeah, because then we could move the agenda items from the study done by Chris Round, right? And of that, I certainly, a big one that I thought we'd probably get some resistance to was the sewage, get a law passed that people have to inspect, and that was one of the study's real findings, that's probably one of the biggest environmental, true environmental hazards, right? And we don't like that dogs walk in there, and we want to stop it, right? We don't want trespassing off the trail. We want to minimize it, but the biggest actual environmental threat was identified in that whole area was the homes and their septic systems, and so that's a good win and a show of moving in the right direction. And the second one, I kind of thought when he mentioned it, was the superintendent having Queensbury school kids go through and adopting those woods and cleaning them up on a regular basis. I kind of thought, oh, I don't know, I questioned the sincerity. I thought it was, but heck, if they actually did it, it's a great move. So, anyway, there you go. Constituent claim, we're not doing anything, right? There's no
Table.
wait until
Table it.
we table it.
So you made a motion to have a second, sorry, I just didn't get a second.
Second.
To table.
So you made a motion to table?
Oh, second, perfect.
I thought we couldn't make a motion because it was just a
It's
statement.
just discussion
I mean,
anyway.
second, but, yeah.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's good. So we know the claims
like
there.
Woody, but
We're
that's-
waiting to hear. We know the claims here.
Yeah.
We're waiting to hear back
Yeah,
from the
just
insurance
information.
company, and then whatever the insurance company does or doesn't do, we can then make a motion and waive the fee or pay, decide to reimburse her. Or what would we do in that case? Would we cut her a check for that, or take that amount off of? You can't waive
Normally, the insurance company just deals with it.
just
When we
insurance.
have claims like this, but Bill wanted to make you all aware that there was this situation, but a lot of times, since I've been here, we haven't even brought it to the board.
Gotcha.
Under her, so.
Okay.
Just to make you aware that there was that situation out there in the post office.
Thank you.
Is July 3rd a business day in the city?
It is, but it's a Monday, so obviously it's a Monday. So.
Nobody will be there.
Nobody's gonna. Well, I was gonna ask too about that for next month, if we were gonna have a quorum.
Well, let me
Just
get there
because
first.
Tuesday's closed.
We don't have any personnel issues in front of us. No executive session needed.
Personnel, just we had a new hire on the field
Okay.
operating crew, that's all.
Field operating crew.
Yep.
Great. When do they start?
Started this week.
All right.
They don't want to be a policeman or fireman, do they?
I don't know.
Stealing from your own. That's great. Any executive session?
I don't have any.
All right. And then, so water and sewer workshop is 2 weeks from today,
Yeah.
or 2 weeks from tomorrow, Tuesday, June 20th, 2 p.m. And then the regular meeting, July 3rd. What is the holiday? When does the city?
Well, the 4th is
The
gonna
4th,
be
so
Tuesday,
it's-
so we're just gonna be closed Tuesday. So Monday we would be open, but it's a matter of if we're gonna have a quorum or not. I don't know if people have stuff going
You
on.
want to move it to after, say, the 5th or the 6th or the next week? What's that do to your schedule?
Doesn't,
I mean, the 3rd doesn't even bother me, but I just would.
Third, you'll be here?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So keep it on
So,
the 3rd?
Keep it on the 3rd? There you go. And then that is it. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you very much.